Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Classic Tycoon here. We're back for episode 3 of our Factory Capers Let's Play series. Let's go ahead and check out what our population. Playing too much City Skylines. What our guest count is at. 487 guests. So, should be pretty well on track. We're in March year 2. Need that, what was the goal? 1,100 by the end of October year 3. So, let's just continue building the park, and I think we should pretty organically be able to get some guests rolling in. In the last one, we built the wooden roller coaster that you see in the top right corner, so let's see what we can get added in here today. Now I'm thinking maybe another thrill ride, another gentle ride, and probably another roller coaster that we'll throw in today's episode. So let's see what we can get done here. We do have $4,300 in the bank right now. We haven't paid back any of our loan. Not too worried about that right now, but let's go ahead and throw this launched free fall in here is what I'm thinking for our next one. It'd be kind of cool to have it sit next to the helicopter ride, so those guys will be kind of wrapping around the launched free fall, and the people on the launch free fall can kind of see those helicopters as they're falling back to the ground. So I think this is a decent little spot for it, as well as this will be a good area to allow us to kind of open up into the next section of the park. Again, slowly kind of opening up areas. We'll add in some more, no entryway signs and that sort of thing to kind of keep us organized as we go along. But let's go ahead and test this. Let's change the launch speed. Let's try about 56, see how high that gets our car here. And I think that's a pretty safe distance. And so we'll check out our test results. 4.42 and a very high intensity rating. That's basically what I expect out of one of these launched free falls without too much scenery. We don't really get the highest of excitement ratings, so I'm plenty happy with that. Generally don't care too much how long the queue line is for one of these. You don't want it to be too long because guests will get upset about it. I think that's plenty long right there. Alright, so real quickly we'll just do all of our little things that we need to do. Add some no entryway signs around so that guests don't go where we don't want them to go. We'll add in some trash bins. We'll add in some benches. You know the drill. All the regular stuff that we need to do as we go along. And another thing I'm going to want to do here after adding in my bins and my benches is just getting the handymen to come over to this area. And some of this I'll be doing off screen during the episode on other builds. But that's just some maintenance stuff that you gotta keep in mind, especially if you're you have to organize your handymen in that way. You don't want them roaming the entire park. You really got to stay on top of that because it's easy to forget that you need to cover more ground with those handymen. All right, so we've got that launched free fall. I'm just kind of looking around the park, thinking about where I want to add our next roller coasters and rides and that sort of stuff. I think I'm going to keep everything kind of condensed over to where we just added that launched free fall. We've got tons of space left. I don't think we're going to end up using all the space in this park by the time we finish up and we've met our goals. So guest count is up to 542, so we've gained almost 100 guests already just through the start of this episode. So going pretty quick here. So, like I said, I think the next thing that I want to do is just add in another gentle ride. So I'm thinking, every park would not be complete without a Ferris wheel. So why don't we throw in a Ferris wheel here, and that'll be the next ride that we do. And just kind of the same idea as our launched free fall. I'm going to kind of keep this area of the park nice and dense with the rides. So we'll throw in the Ferris wheel right here. Same drill. Throwing in pathways, and we'll have to move around our no entryway signs when we're done here. You see, I'm struggling to put in the, the handyman pathways, but there we go. Now our handyman should be covering everything that we need in the park. All right. So we've got a new thrill ride, new gentle ride that'll help to kind of keep our guests happy as we take some time to figure out what we want to add in next, which again, right now I'm kind of thinking that we'll do a roller coaster. But I'm just, keeping an eye on everything, making sure everything's running well. Guests are finally starting to buy food and drinks and that sort of thing. Takes a little while for them to start to do that. And I am just thinking about, where I want to go next. Do I want to go next to Nuts and Bolts here? Maybe we could, go over to these, whatever those buildings are supposed to be. They look kind of, I'm assuming factories. Also add a little bit of more cost to our entrance here. And then I'm also just checking and seeing, thinking adding another mechanic in there would probably be a good idea. We're starting to have more rides break down. So there we go. All right, so plenty of space on this side of the park. Probably a larger roller coaster will go into this area very soon. But what I'm actually thinking next is a wild mouse. And I think you see all these gears and everything right here that's moving on this like elevated platform. I think that's where I would like to put in our mouse, or wild mouse. So let's connect a little bit of the park with these pathways right here. And then that's where we'll start building out our wild mouse in just a moment here. I think that's a good place to connect the park. So you've got kind of the further end being able to connect up with that middle section. It'll just give the guests more options, get them moving through the park a little bit easier so they don't have to walk quite as far to get to some of the rides that they would rather they'd rather start riding. All right, so finally, let's get started on this wild mouse. And I always just kind of like to look at the custom designs, get a small amount of inspiration before I start building my own. I guess the pre-built designs, not the custom designs, but all right, I think we're gonna go right here. That's one of the nice things about the wild mouse, is that it's very compact. You can fit a pretty decent ride into a very small area. And you can see I'm just trying to make use of the scenery that's already around. So that's another reason why I like the Wild Mouse over here, is I'm able to fit these, very compact tracks in between through where this gear, I don't even know what you would call this, but this elevated platform with all the gears going around it. So it's a pretty nice little pre-built scenery that you can take advantage of, that I think the guests will enjoy and help to increase that excitement rating on our ride. I know I've talked about it in the past, but in case you haven't seen me build a wild mouse before, I like lots of block break sections in my wild mouse rides, so that we can have lots of mice or cars going at the same time. Just being really careful in this area. I really don't want to delete any of the structures over here, because on touch they're very hard to replace. That's one thing about playing on an iPad or on a mobile device, is I feel like the scenery is a lot harder to deal with than if you've got a mouse and keyboard. You can watch me struggle as I try and weave all these pieces of the ride together. You just gotta make some compromises when you're building a ride like this in such a small area. All right, here I add a little bit more of a chain lift, because I wanted to extend the ride a little bit, and there's no shame in that, especially on a wild mouse ride. I feel like that could be a pretty typical thing that you see happen. Now we'll see if we can bring this thing home to the station platform. All right, now a problem that I'm running into here is that I've got nowhere to put my exit. So here's what I ended up doing instead. You can see I actually built out a different station platform for the exit, and I think it works out better this way. So the guests will hop off the mouse at the exit, and then the car will come into the entrance station platform, and then the guests will be able to hop on there. So let's go ahead and watch this test and see how it looks. A little bit of a wait there, but it really not too bad. There we go. So the guests would get off there. That allows the mouse to come around into the station platform. There we go, a 7.73 excitement rating. That's a pretty decent excitement rating, I feel like, for a wild mouse. So we'll go ahead and go with it. All right, there I was having some problems with how many cars I could add to the ride. Just the way that the station or the block brakes are set up, I need to have one less mouse going than what's available. So you'll see what I do in a minute here is I actually add some more block brake sections in between the exit station platform and the entrance station platform, so that I can have more mice running. Because it doesn't really matter how many are in between the exit and the entrance in those block brake sections. Again, you'll see what I'm talking about in a moment. We want to mitigate the amount of time that guests are waiting to get onto the ride, obviously, and that they're sitting in the car at the end of the ride. So we don't want them like. I'm also having a problem right here, by the way, with the queue line, so I have to make some adjustments to the ride. There we go. You can see about that queue line. But now, like I said, you can see I made the station platform a lot shorter since we're only having like one mouse at a time. By the way, I'm also going to start an advertising campaign for the new ride. Yeah, more block brakes in between so that the mice are able to just go into the station platform. Guests are able to hop right onto the ride, and then they don't have to wait quite as long. We're trying to mitigate waiting times here. And I actually increased our excitement rating a little bit, I think, 7.76. So very high excitement rating. I'm happy with that. We didn't even have to really add any extra scenery to this. It's just the way it's gonna go. So I think this is gonna be a very popular ride. We'll keep an eye on this entrance queue line. I don't want guests to be getting too upset about how long they have to wait. That's one thing that happens with these wild mouse rides a lot of times is it can take a little while to have turnover. But again, you can see the block brake sections in use right there. So I've got multiple mice waiting so that as soon as the next one pumps out, another one comes in so that more riders can hop on and the ride can be continuously filling with guests. All right, well, that seems to be running smoothly. Like I said, we'll keep an eye on this ride for the foreseeable future. Looks like we're in October year 2. We've got 790 guests in the park as of now. I did do an advertising campaign, but we've got a whole nother year to get up to 1,100 guests. That leaves us only just over 300 guests to get in the next year. I'm not seeing that being too much of a problem, so thanks you guys for watching. If you liked it, go ahead and drop a like for me. If you haven't subscribed to the channel and you would like to see more, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video.